Welcome to a Drop Tent Media production.
The Porcupine with Adam Nutter.
What's up, Porcupine family? What is going on? Don't even know what episode this is. I don't want to release this episode, so it's fine. I am your host, Adam Nutter. I'm gonna say episode 11. Sure, we'll call it that. Guys, thanks for tuning in. Real quick, again, to get everything out of the way for me, follow me at Adam Nutter on all the social media stuff. Go check out my comedy podcast I do with Neil Wood, Cult of Us, on Drop 10 Media Network. Shows coming up. I don't know if I was coming out before then, but fuck it. The 29th of July, I'll be in Queens at 8 Ball Comedy, 8 p.m. In Astoria. Coming out to that. And then August 11th, I'll be at Steiny's in Staten Island, my home birthplace of trash itself. I'm making an appearance coming out to that. That's at 8 p.m. And then, of course, August 14th, the Pop-In, Chalfont, Pennsylvania. It's right outside of Philly, like a half hour, 40 minutes outside of Philly. Coming out, 2 shows, 7:30 show, 9:30 show. I'm hosting both shows, I think. Come on out. Get your tickets now. They will sell out. I'm telling you, they sell every month. droptent.com/events. Get your tickets. No, I can't get you in afterwards. I can't. No, there's physically no room. Get your tickets now. droptent.com/events. All right, that's it from me. Guys, my guest today, the man who helped suspend the Fakertarians YouTube account himself, Mr. Nick Ashley, everybody.
Thank you for having me, Adam. I don't know about suspend their YouTube account, but
I don't know,
at the very least, that video that they did with me was demonetized immediately because of my Metallica song entrance. They have gone back and re-uploaded the episode. They deleted the old one and reposted it. So I'm assuming they censored the music in order to monetize the new video. But either way, I think I kind of made my mark regardless.
Dude, that was one of the most clever high-level trolls I've seen. That was really smart.
I didn't mean to do that. Seriously. I just wanted to intro with the song that I felt went with the vibe, and I'm chugging a Bud Light, White Boy Summer kind of stuff. And I wanted a song that had a short little intro with no music, the bells on For Whom the Bell Tolls work perfectly. And then right whenever the thing just starts hammering, I turn the camera on and that was it. The song fit perfectly. It had nothing to do with me. I didn't even think about the demonetization as a thing. Like, that was just something that happened that I didn't even consider.
I believe you. Let me tell you, no one else does. But I believe you for sure.
Yeah, I'm not on. I am on YouTube now, but I don't do stuff like that. I'm aware that it happened because back in the day, whenever all this started happening, I remember when it did with like some PewDiePie controversy.
Yeah.
I remember when the demonetization started happening, but I'm not in that world, so it's not something I would have thought about. And then, like, after I found out about it, because Drew Hancock, who's also a guy that makes videos, he's one of my friends. He sent me a DM on Twitter, just of a screenshot saying, hey, you could see in the info on in the description of the YouTube video that, well, it's gone now, but you could see that it had the video had been claimed because of For Whom the Bell Tolls. So that's how I find out. I didn't even know, like, nobody told me. It was just a friend of mine that was like, hey, did you do this on purpose? And I was like, actually, no.
No, I do believe you, but it's funny because listen, when you did do it, everyone's like, dude, good troll. Like, everyone, it's so easily thinkable, especially they're trying to troll, so why not troll back? That's what I was thinking, honestly. But I mean, you did. Yeah. You wore the Burger King outfit, which is also hilarious, and
it's all still the shirt is still right there, like the Burger King hat, and I still have it right here. I'm gonna be going to Yale Revolution in a couple of weeks here, and I wanted to wear this because you have to dress in business or not business casual. I'm sorry. Yeah, business casual is the attire. But that shirt, it's meant to be worn with a suit. Like, it's not a very good solid shirt. Like you could probably see my nipples through it in the sun. So I'm not, and I can't wear an undershirt because it's too easy to see what the undershirt is. And I don't have any plain. If I had a plain pink undershirt, I would wear it, but I'm not going to worry about it. But yeah, I don't know why I haven't gone ahead and put it in my closet. And I'm probably never going to wear that shirt again, to be completely honest with you.
Dude, why do they even invite you on? Just because they fucking hate you? And they're like, let's get on.
Yeah, they did a similar thing with Jeremy Kaufman. They just, I don't know. I think they were going to try to just, make a fool of me or expose me for being a hateful bigot or whatever it was. I mean, Archie had clips ready to go from the Tower Gang podcast of me saying stuff. And I think that they wanted me to come on so they could all gang up on me and put me on the spot to defend myself and make me look bad. And I kind of suspected that was what it was going to be, which is why I did what I did. Like I never had any plans to take it seriously. But if I recall correctly, the way that it came up of me going on the show, there's a joke that we do. Are you familiar with Not a Podcast?
Yeah.
Okay. There's a joke that us Twitter folks do, people that are friends with those guys, where we just tell somebody who's being stupid on the timeline, go on Not a Podcast. Like we got over 150 people to tell this one guy, go on Not a Podcast, because he said, oh, I'm not going on that show. Only like 10 people told me to go on. You'll get like 40 and then I'll talk. And then I was like, all right, let's do it. And then, so anyway, so I don't remember if it was from that or so, but somebody said, Nick Ashley, go on Fakertarians. And they replied, the account, I don't know who runs the account. I think it's John. He replied saying, I would actually consider this. And I just was like, I'm like, okay, cool. So I don't know what their intentions were. I suspect it's, like I said earlier, to try to make me look bad, which, I mean, whatever. That's whatever. But I think I did what I needed to do.
No one cares about their opinion. So, like, the fact that you did that was perfect. Like, don't take them seriously, because they're not. It's that old, like, what is the old adage? Like, lions aren't concerned with the opinions of lambs.
Yes.
It's like, yeah, it's like you guys are fucking irrelevant. You guys are jokes. You guys are jokes in all circles. Like, the fact you and Josh go on there and just trolling them, trashing them is 100% what you should do. And if I would, they'll never have me on because they're probably too smart for that now. But I would do the same thing. I'll go on there and be like, and just completely just. I know I'm wittier than them. I know I'm funnier than them. I know I'm smarter than them. So it won't even be hard for me. It'll just be me easily trolling these idiots. But it's like, what's the fun in that almost then?
Yeah, it's been done. And I think like Jeremy Kaufman went on there in earnest. Like he was actually having a conversation with them. And even then they were not like kind to him. They were dicks to him the whole time. And he was really trying to talk and have a serious conversation about whatever topics they were talking about. I didn't watch the whole thing. I just kind of watched for a few minutes, but they were like, the cat ears person was just saying stupid shit. The English guy was just saying stupid shit. Like they were not taking it seriously. So I was like, after seeing that, and then considering that whenever I had gotten the official invite, pretty much, I was like, well, why would I bother being serious? And there were times where we were actually having an actual conversation about ideology and about politics and stuff like that, and which I wasn't even that smart. I was like a dozen beers deep by that point, so I was pretty gone, and I still intellectually dwarfed them too. Like it's very clear that they're just, and I don't look. The whole problem with that kind of thing that they're doing is you can't have a brand based on just being a hater against other people, especially if those people, I mean, I guess it could work in some situations in like some weird esoteric thing that I'm not familiar with, like K-pop or something, because those fans get kind of weird. But it just seems to me that it's never a successful, long-lasting brand if you build it on being anti some other people. And they're anti Mises Institute, Mises Caucus. They're anti, the Tom Woods and the Hans Hermann Hoppas of the world, and Dave Smith and those guys. So whenever you have a brand that's anti those people, and especially that those people are very well liked and popular, I just don't see how that's going to work.
Yeah. There's something like this. You should, like you said, to do with the cat ears and the English guy. It's like, if that's why, like, I'm a comic first, and my brain goes to like, how can I trash everyone in this fucking room right now? You know what I'm saying? So like, if he starts talking like, bro, you have cat ears on, so what do we do? Like, you're getting lit up first. Like, I'm going to you, then I'm going to Archie. Like, it's just so easy. And like that's the other thing too, Nick, is like being more involved in the party itself. Like, you know, like I'm the state board rep for Bucks County, PA, so like I am involved in the actual LP itself by being the board rep inherently, you know. So like seeing all sides of the party, and you realize a lot of those guys and girls who think that way or who are in the Libertarian Party, they go, oh, they truly don't understand a joke.
No, yes, not at all. They just don't.
Truly, for true real, do not understand humor. They don't understand satire, anything like being facetious. Like, dude, none of it. So when you, me, Josh, we have jokes and we're all joking around, like, oh, you fucking idiot, oh, you whatever retard. People are like, oh, he said retarded. He wants to disparage, and you're like, hey man, that's all. Maybe you don't know, but I feel like you do know it's not what we mean. You do know we're kidding, and like you do know there's a difference between like. Again, I'm not going to bring my producer into this, but I'm just going to drop his name, Jesse. Like he's not a libertarian at all, but he's a comic, right? So he always understands. Oh no, he understands joke first. I understand humor. He can separate fucking his political shit from comedy, right? These motherfuckers though, they're like everything's fucking real, everything's serious. There is no comedy. There is no humor. There is no satire. It's just what you say is fucking Bible. It's like, no, dude, no.
Yeah, part of the reason I'm really happy to, I mean, I don't think I've ever spoken to an actual comedian before, and I wanted to bring this up, and it's a great segue because what you just talked about is really pertinent to this. Is I think that I've always had a very, very hard time understanding. This is a reflection. This is probably more of a reflection on me and my brain than it is the social conventions. But whatever, people will take this for what it's worth. I have always had a very difficult time understanding like language taboos and the fact of what words are okay and what words are not okay. And I know like I'm not I don't know how bad a language. I'm not going to say any slurs or anything. Can I say the F word?
Absolutely.
Okay. I'm not a fuck your feelings type of person. Like being offended by certain things, if you're a victim of like sexual assault and you don't like rape jokes, that's totally legitimate. That's perfectly
100%. Acceptable.
And I think that most people that fall into those kinds of categories, they're not the ones that are going out and attacking people for making jokes about rape. And any, it's normally not. I'm just going to say this right now. It's progressive white people who are going out and attacking people for making racial jokes. Black people in the crowd laugh at that shit. They think it's hilarious. They give it right back to you just as good. But I've never understood like language taboos. And like I said, that's on me. But so whatever. But for people to not understand, I think that's part of the autism. Like I was having a conversation with some other folks and I was like, we have the right amount of autism.
100, dude.
Like,
yes.
The right amount.
Yes.
Just the right stroke. They are a little too far on the spectrum.
Yes.
And it's like, I'm far enough where I don't get language taboos to the point where I'll just say things. And again, it's not a fuck your feelings thing. It's just, I just think it's funny. Like I just say things I think are funny, whatever. But to those who are not in that same, sweet spot as somebody like you or me, not saying you're autistic, you know what I mean? I think,
no,
right?
No, dude. Yes, because I think I made this joke last week I was like, I feel like, especially every comic, I'm like, we all have a little autism for sure. Like, there's no way we don't. Like it's weird for us to want to be validated in front of strangers through humor. You're telling me that's not autistic in some, like, there has to be.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, it has to be. Like, there's no way I'm not, like, we're not somewhere. I feel like the spectrum's so broad in terms of, like, personality.
Yeah.
There's no way we're not.
I just mean, yeah. And when I say that, I don't mean like a legitimate diagnosis from a doctor or a therapist. Right. I just mean like the lack of understanding of that particular social convention. Like I just, and I do think if I went to therapy, I would be diagnosed with a little bit on the spectrum. I get that, but all bullshit aside, like I just mean the lack of understanding of the social convention. Like I just do not understand why people get so uptight about the particular words that you want to use. Like you could say in a sentence, it is wrong to call somebody, insert racial slur here,
right,
and you'll get hammered for saying the racial slur, even though you're saying it's wrong to call people that. Like people
that's
just can't
the
understand.
Netflix guy, right?
Yes,
the Netflix dude. He was like
Netflix and Papa John.
I don't know too much, honestly. I really don't know. All I know about the Papa John thing was it was like a joke that he had to learn how to not to say it, which is funny.
He said it. He was on a phone call or in some sort of conference, and he said it's not like we're Colonel Sanders calling black people ends. He said that it's not like we're doing that, and that's what got him.
Oh, okay.
That's what got him capped, right?
I didn't know. The joke that we always used to run with was it was funny when his comeback interview. He's like, I spent 12 months learning not to say. You had to learn not to say.
Yeah,
that's what's funny.
That was too much damage control, dude. You had to chill. But yeah, that's what I mean, though. Just I don't understand how that gets people. I don't like the term canceled, but for the lack of a better term, for just so we all understand what I mean. I just don't. I don't understand how that gets people canceled. And then, like you said, the Netflix guy. You're exactly right. He said we shouldn't be saying N or whatever. I think it was retard. He said that got him in trouble. I don't remember. It wasn't him too. Okay. Yeah. I just don't get it. It's I understand if in the correct context, if you're saying it to a black person because you are racist and because you're making a racial attack on this black person, despite the person's character, despite what okay, yeah, that's bad. But just saying the word, it's just weird to me. I just don't get it.
It's very childlike. Where it's you're an adult, so we're supposed to be act like it. You're allowed to hear a word and be like, okay, you know what it is? It's I feel like as years go on, and I don't know, it has to do with social media, or not even social media, just technology or whatever, but context gets not even lost, purposely avoided.
Yeah. And we've been having this conversation for 10 years now, which is the screwed up part.
Well, you'll look at something and be like, you 100% know what he was saying or she was saying in that time, but you're purposefully cutting out. You're like, he said, come on, man. If you play that clip 3 more seconds, you're like, oh, all right. It's always the 3 extra seconds and 3 seconds before that you hit record, or not even record, that you cut. There's also, Nick, there's a difference between like you're saying, there's between hearing a bad word and a personal attack. If someone's like, yo, you fucking bitch, I'll fight you. It's all right, well, now I have to address this. You're attacking me personally. But someone's like, or someone's even like, oh, I don't like so and so. Again, racial slur. It's like, all right, so we're gonna fight over this guy. I'm dude, whatever. You're a fucking loser, and just move on from it. It's not it's not worth the fight. To be like, oh, okay, well, if you don't like that guy, avoid that guy. Or avoid that girl. Just move on.
And the reason I make it a point to say it's not coming from a place of a lot of MAGA people with the fuck your feelings things. They actually get offended at words too. They just 100%. Won't admit it. And that like I said, it's not wrong to be offended by stuff. I don't think that's not where I'm coming from. Like I said, if you have a legitimate thing that you had in your past and some jokes, you're not comfortable with some jokes, that's totally okay. I'm not comfortable with people making jokes about my wife or whatever. And now that I said that, people will probably do it. So fuck you. But you get what I mean? I'm not trying to be no tough guy. I'm a man. I don't care about whatever you say. It's no, people say things and you should I don't want to say hold people accountable. That's kind of a lame thing to say, but you have to understand the difference between what I'm saying here and just particularly specifically saying words because people don't like when you say it. I don't know, there's a balance.
So I think no, you're right. I think it comes down to people shouldn't, unless you're making a specific attack on someone, you shouldn't lose your career.
No, of course not.
Unless you're like, hey, so and so, fuck you, I'm gonna kill you, or whatever you're saying, then sure, you have a
How about this? I think even if you do call somebody something out of hatred, I still don't think you should lose your career.
That's why I said, unless you make a specific threat, hey, I'm going to kill you.
Yeah,
or something
criminal stuff.
Yes.
Yeah,
but just words. Hey, we're adults. Yeah, your feelings get hurt, but it is just you feel in other words, you might get hurt and it's going to upset you, but you're not going to lose your family. You're not going to lose your house. You're not going to lose your job. You're not going to lose your savings. You're going to be upset, which sure. But what's worse at the end of the day, being upset or losing everything, right? I mean, losing everything for sure.
Yeah. How, and these are the people that want you to think they're a good person, which is why they are so opposed to the language that they want to get people in trouble for. But it's what do you think is worse and doing more harm to society, if you will? People that are, the fact that you can legitimately lose your career, lose your house, ruin your marriage. Financial trouble is the number one reason for divorces, right? and get your car repoed because you said something in a private conversation. Like, do you think that's not as bad for society as the fact that somebody said a bad word? Come on, I just don't understand that.
Yeah, it's so in like comedy, especially. Obviously, we're anti-heckling and people saying stuff during the middle of the show, and a lot. It doesn't really happen to me, but like other comics who I'm friends of mine who I've seen it happen to, they'll say something a little funny, but like on the edge, on purpose. But this is the thing: the audience hears like da 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 rape, or da 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 sexual assault, or da 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 midget, or like whatever the trigger word is, right? And they don't let them finish their point. They just go, "You said the word that I don't like, and now I'm gonna interrupt this show for everyone because I don't like the word you said." Yeah. So in comedy, it's like, listen, you don't have to laugh at me or laugh at the other, whatever, but the appropriate response to a joke you don't like is sitting there quietly, or getting up and walking out quietly. But it's not to let me interrupt this show that everyone else is enjoying.
Yeah, you're such a good person. You have to ruin everybody else's good time. 100 other people or however many. That's how good of a person you are, right? Like, it just, come on. You're the asshole at that point. Come on, dude.
Yeah, and like, I don't see it going away. Like in society, like I think there's a pendulum swing eventually.
I hope. But this is what my thing is. Yeah, the pendulum swings back the other way, but it's not going to be. Whenever that happens, it's just a reaction to what's happening like present day. So whenever it does swing back in that other direction, it's not.
You're right.
It's hard for me to say that it's not genuine, but it's like instead of it being an organic, you probably understand this more than I do being a comedian, but how do I put this into words? Like, rather than it being like an organic in the moment, hey, no, don't interrupt the show because you don't like that word that person said. It's going to go the other way, where I feel like once it does swing the other way and everybody becomes, anti-PC, or now the term is woke is what they've been using, the term for there's been so many different terms for the same phenomenon. Mm-hmm. Now it's woke. It used to be PC. I don't know what else it's been called before, but it's all the same thing. Political correctness, just in a different
SJW.
It's all SJW. That's right.
It's all different names. Yeah.
But then people create an entire persona on being anti that, right? Which doesn't feel as genuine as you understand. Does that make sense? What I'm saying?
It's reactionary.
Yes.
Not proactive. If that's what you're trying to get at. So there's no proactive. In other words, there's no so much as a sense to like proactively be anti-PC as there is a sense to be proactively PC.
Yeah.
So the reaction is be like, hold on, wait a minute, but you're taking away shit that we used to talk about. That's what it is. Yeah. It's a reaction to the loss of or potential loss of stuff.
And there'll be people that are just trying to be inflammatory, as like that's what their reaction is just being inflammatory. It's like, no, you can. Then again, I don't blame them for it, because these people that they're reacting against clearly have no interest in having a conversation either. So like I said, it's tough for me to say what I mean. I hope I didn't come off wrong there.
No, I think the reactionary and proactive thing is pretty much what you're saying. Again, it's just always like a societal swing. Mm-hmm. Deem it whatever way. Right now, it's going towards a way of, I guess, woke. So there's always that reactive, like, hold on, let's not. What are we doing? Like, there's this stuff though still, and then but I feel like the younger crowd. Because how old are you, Nick?
25.
You're 10 years younger than me. So your crowd, most of your generation is the ones being like, no, you can't talk, you can't do that, you can't. And most of my generation is like, you can still say retard, like, right?
Yeah.
Like, and then the generation past me is like, say fucking whatever. It's just how it goes.
Here's kind of what I mean. I just thought of an example of what I'm talking about. And I like this guy a lot. His name is I'm sure you've heard James Lindsay. He's a mathematician. And and I'm not saying he's wrong for this. I'm saying it sucks that it has come to this, is more of what I mean. It sucks that it's come to this, that his whole basically identity is anti-critical race theory. It's which critical race theory is like woke at its most woke, right?
Well, that's yeah.
So it sucks that this guy who's a legitimate, he has a doctorate in math. He's clearly very intelligent. It sucks that it's come to this where this really smart guy who clearly has a lot to give to the world is having to use his time and brain power against this stupid shit. Like, how much could that be holding us back? You know what I mean? So
Right.
I'm not blaming James for doing it. I'm just saying, like, my point is, it sucks that it comes to that you have legitimate. He's probably a genius. I don't know.
Yeah.
But for that to be that, it sucks.
Yeah, but we also need those people.
No, yeah.
Because if we don't have them, then asylum runs itself.
Oh no, I get that's what I'm saying. Like I certainly appreciate everything he does, like for sure. But I mean, I don't know how to stave off the problem is the reality is it's not a very large amount of people. If you asked 10,000 people how strongly they feel about, let's just, for example, critical race theory, like if you laid out what it is and said, do you believe this? I would probably, my bet would be at least 90% of those people, 9,000 out of 10 would say, no, I think this is stupid.
I agree. If they really understood it, like actually not lie to, from either side, by the way, just like actually for what it is, I 100% agree with you.
But the way things are going, and it's just kind of being adopted as a universally accepted thing now, you wouldn't believe that 90% of people think it's stupid. So it's a very small minority of people, and the majority need to be more brave. But the problem is, again, this goes back to the fact that you can lose your job and lose everything for having a dissenting opinion, which is really not even that dissenting. It's so weird. It's like everybody's sitting around in a room waiting for somebody to be the first to disagree, even though they don't agree with them. At heart, they point them out and say, oh, look, this person said the wrong thing. Like, I don't know, man. It's very strange what's going on right now. And I think the internet culture, social media and all that has really exacerbated and highlighted that this is what's happening. Which this isn't a knock on social media. I think it's great. I mean, I've grown my platform from Twitter alone.
Yeah, same.
But like, just there has to be more people that are more willing to sit up, which is part of the reason I do what I do, and double down every time there's something going on. I'm sick of people apologizing. I get why people do it, but I be the change you want to see in the world kind of deal. I don't want to be a hypocrite.
Yeah. Wow, that's lost my train of thought. Jesus Christ. Holy shit, Adam. I just had something
Sorry
to say.
about that.
No, I should have wrote it down. I got caught up in what you were fucking saying. Go back like a minute. What the fuck did you say like a minute ago about goddamn, dude, my fucking brain is fried.
How the majority of people don't really
That's it.
believe.
Thank you. Perfect.
Okay.
Majority. Thank you so much. This is always a fun stat that I like to rip off. So I think like 22% or 23% of the American just America, the American population is on Twitter. Okay.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, out of that percentage, 80% of the tweets are made up of 2% of the people who use Twitter.
Wow, that's okay. That's like a huge disparity.
So this is what I try to tell, because my wife will read stuff on Twitter and be like, oh, this is what's... I go, stop. That's not real. Yeah. I go, you think it's real because it has 40,000 likes, but it's not real life. I go, I'm telling you, once you realize that stat, and look it up if whoever's not believing me. I might be off on the little numbers, but I'm saying it's a staggering amount, separation of percentages. So when you realize that, you go, oh, wait a minute. So like, there's just a bunch of annoying, loud people who don't have jobs who could tweet all day and they make noise. That's what it is. That's legitimately what it is. So it's like, oh, okay. So the public perception you get of like, oh, this is bad, this is taking over, this is it's like, oh, actually, no, it's like 7 assholes who have time on their hands.
Yeah. So I'm thinking trend on Twitter, and you would think it's a way bigger like phenomenon in the country than it really is.
But
and if it really is 2% of people on Twitter making 80% of it, that makes sense. Most people don't tweet a whole lot. I can buy that. But for that many people to be on Twitter compared to that many people making most of the tweets, that's crazy to me.
But that it goes to your point also. You're like, well, the majority has to be louder, but we're not. Why? My theory is if if you have time to just be on like social media all day and you're not a comic like me, or like if you're not at a cubicle like where you just have time to kill, let's be honest, most jobs you can't just be like, hold on, and just be on Twitter for 3 hours, right? Like you just can't.
Yeah.
So my theory is most of the people don't have jobs. They're already living off maybe the government or off somebody, not necessarily the government, but they're living off of a teat, let's say. So it doesn't matter. They have nothing to lose. What they can't live. But so let's say guys with jobs, girls with jobs, women with jobs. They're like, well, I can't argue my point because I could lose my family, as opposed to this fucking asshole who's some eggshell on Twitter.
I also wonder how. Yeah, and whenever this is the thing about it too. Yeah, you're making a good point there, and it's not even about just having a job, but having like something to live for, something to strive for. You're not gonna have generally speaking, these people that are actually working toward, like, say they have a small business and they're building it up, or they're a comedian and they're on the grind, like these kind of things that when you're first starting out, or even during the heyday, of your career, whatever it is that you're doing, it's always hard work. You're always doing crazy, grinding really. So you have something to move forward for. You have something to live for. Your mind is consumed by that. Your mind isn't going to be consumed by the cause du jour, right? And it's so easy to be so passionate about this weird little woke ideology whenever you don't have something, right? Whenever you don't have a job that you're really working hard, whenever you don't have a business that you built up from the ground up, whenever you don't have a career in film or acting or comedy that you're not literally working 90 hours a week on, right? It's so easy whenever you're sheltered and living in the suburbs and got everything you ever wanted to be like, oh yeah, you should be in jail for saying the wrong words. Yeah. It's you know what I mean? It's just thing, not people not dealing in reality.
Dude, you're right. It's also like, I mean, that's like a smaller percentage, but like there are people out there like, you should, like, do you understand what jail is? like, do you really understand what you're advocating for? You're advocating for taking away someone's legitimate livelihood and putting them behind the cage because you don't like a thing they said. That's fucking crazy.
Well, I just said that for effect.
No,
yeah,
but people really do.
Yeah,
there
people
are people
do
out
think
there
that.
who really. I mean, again, it's a very small percentage of people, but still, it's bananas. So there's 2 other comics in the room right now, but like we were just talking the other day about the whole Shane Gillis thing. I don't know if you know his whole story. Mm-hmm. Okay, so
I remember most of it. What did he say? Like an Asian joke?
So he was on his podcast and he made an Asian joke, but that's not even the point we were making. The point we were making was like, well, first of all, he's way more successful now. Like, he's not way more successful than SNL, but like he's like on the road, like he's headlining consistently, like he is doing a good job. But the point we were making was the guy who took the main guys who took him down. His name was Seth Simons.
Oh, and, yeah,
yeah. And Seth is, by the way, a sexual pest because he's been as much as he likes to talk shit and stuff on people. Girls dropped dime on him and be like, yeah, he harasses us, like sexually.
It's
like,
always
not
like that.
Not like he sexually harassed them, like he would sexually pester them to try to have sex with him.
Yeah,
like a little brother almost, like a little brother being like, can I play? Kind of like that.
Being creepy at least.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that came out, of course, on him. But Seth is essentially a shitty, failed open mic comic. Mm-hmm. Who never got success. He would do like shitty hack bird poetry. He would just call into a microphone, like bad comedy, and it's jealousy of like, oh, this guy is doing so well, but he doesn't fit how I want him to fit. And then the other group that took him down was a place in Philly called Good Comedy Theater, and these people got sued for not paying comics. So like, it's all these pieces of shit who want to fucking be like, he said a bad word. It's like, you're actually doing harm, though.
Yeah, like a projection.
That's the other thing I noticed about just doing the LP shit and just even in comedy. A lot of it is projection. A lot of it is, we actually feel this way, so you feel this way. It's like, nope.
Is Seth Simons, that name is so familiar. Is he, and I think was he the one that wrote an article.
The Nazi article.
That said that, comedy has an alt-right problem and like cited Dave Smith and the Legion of Skanks guys.
Yep.
And then Anthony.
2 Jews and a Puerto Rican.
Anthony I didn't know Jay was Jewish. Anthony Jeselnik huge comic, like tweeted it out,
Yeah.
and he wound up going back and apologizing, but the damage has been done already. Really, once you have somebody like that, you know how many people think that Dave Smith and the boys on LOS are legitimately alt-right? Like, come on, dude, that's so fucked up.
But that Jeselnik thing, you're right. It did. Shut the fuck. Like, just think. You have 1 million followers, dude, and you know Jay. like, it's like it's just. It's a lot of haphazard shit. That's what I'm saying. There's no. It's just. Here's the thing too. Is it's like you just said, what was bigger of a reaction, or what got more eyes? His initial tweet or his apology?
That's right. That's exactly right. Like, among the people that already liked Dave before, yeah, we all saw the apology and we're like, that's right, motherfucker. But the millions probably of people who were exposed to that because of Jeselnik, that either didn't know who Dave Smith was or already didn't like him before, they're not, it's very asymmetrical. It's just like whenever there's a New York Times thing and they make an error in the article, and then like next week they put it in a little tiny footnote at the bottom. Oh, this was actually an error. There were only 10,000 people that died of whatever instead of 100,000. We made a typo. That happens all the time. And the apology or the retraction or the correction or whatever it is, it's microscopic compared to the
buried
effect.
6 pages out of the headline,
yes,
as opposed to the first time it was headline, bold print.
It's on purpose. I mean, and I'm not talking, not saying Jeselnik or anything. I'm just saying like the people doing that in general, like specifically media outlets, they do it on purpose to try to maintain their credibility. Because they make mistakes all the time. Like, don't get me wrong. All these people see, and at a certain point, you have to wonder if they are mistakes, right? But, CNN, Fox, MSNBC, all what we would call the corporate press or the mainstream media, they put out incorrect information all the time. But they release retractions in like I said, a footnote, or like you said, buried 6 pages deep in the Times or whatever it may be. If they were apologizing and making as big a deal out of the mistake they made as they were the initial article where they made the mistake, then nobody would believe anything they say, because they'd be apologizing every single day for making mistakes. And I say mistakes again, some of it has to be at a certain point not exactly a mistake.
Well, no, of course, because even what was the Boston Globe movie where they broke the sex scandal?
I'm not sure.
Or Miami, Boston. I think it was Boston Globe, where they were like one of the '80s who broke like the whole scandal open and stuff, and they put it on the public. If you watch that movie, or even read the backstory, like that got pushed back too. From like, hey, we can't rustle feather. What do you mean rustle feather? It's like they're fucking kids. What do you mean? It's like, stop it.
It's just like how, goodness, I can't remember the lady's name. There was a lady that worked for one of these outlets, one of these news outlets that was caught on camera saying, yeah, we had the Prince Harry, Queen Elizabeth, Epstein stuff.
ABC?
One of those.
ABC,
a big, she was like
ABC.
A big time anchor on the network.
She said we had the story and they wouldn't let me run it.
And this is the thing. This is not new.
Right.
And thankfully we have really big guys with big platforms like Michael Malice and Tom Woods who are consistently saying this and putting it out there. But this is not new. The fact is, the New York Times has been lying. The Atlantic has been lying since the day they were founded. They lied about the stuff going on during World War I. They lied about Holodomor during World War II and the Stalin era. They're going to keep lying, and they never stopped, and it's always been, and they never have been.
If you look at
tellers.
The actual history of like the printing press in this country, it was always owned by like a corporate. It was never just like it was free. It was a free tool, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
you couldn't afford it. So like you couldn't fucking print 18 whatever the fuck it was. I'm dumb. I don't know, but like this company can.
Yes.
It's now who pushes the narrative? You or the company?
Exactly. And now that's changing. And even though it's not a very big shift, I still think the majority of people, which the masses can't be counted on. Like if you're talking about like a liberty thing, they can't be counted. That's not the point. The point I'm making is like more and more people who were previously, it used to be if you were on person, like you were silent, you were killed, thrown in jail, whatever, like Galileo back in the day, or anybody that dissented from the Catholic Church whenever they were at their height of power. Anybody who said anything against the crown back in the early 1800s, 1900s, they had no recourse. Well, now all you need to tell is one other person and we could put it on the internet, and now it's never going to go away. So that's why I think we're seeing more desperate clawing at the microphone. They're losing their microphone, right? Everybody else has a microphone too. And we can all say what we want against these outlets. We all have a printing press now, right?
Yes.
You get what I mean? Like, that's the analogy here is we all have a printing press now, and they're not the only ones that could push a narrative. You could push your own narrative too and say, hey, look, these people are lying.
Dude, that was, great. Yeah, it was 100%. Also, fear sells.
Yes.
So they go, well, they know we're lying about like the Epstein thing for sure. That's one of the very few things where universally everyone was like, no one believes you.
Yeah.
Like Democrat, Republican, Libertarian, Independent, Green Party, fucking alien. Everyone's like, that's not true. So what really fucking happened here? You know, that was the real eye-opening. But then what starts to happen is they use fear for everything else, right? So I always forget the dude's name. It was one of the Nazis after the Nuremberg, or right before, during the Nuremberg trials. They asked him, like, how'd you make everybody become a Nazi? He's like, we didn't make anybody do shit. He's like, we used fear. Fear made everybody join Nazism voluntarily. That's all we did, and that's how the media does it. It's just fear. So they go, we're gonna scare you, so you got to listen to us. Again, we'll pick the topic. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, you see that. I mean, now obviously with the way things are, you can't make it. You can never compare anything to any other authoritarian regime, particularly the Nazis. Otherwise, you're a bad person, right? Like, we've seen that. But we see that now where they don't even have to, because a perfect example of this is, I don't want to get you in trouble, so stop me if I need to be silent. Perfect example of this was like the coronavirus vaccine passport thing that they talked about. All they had to do, and this is what they do all the time with various other things too, is they say, hey, meaning the government, Biden said, we're looking into getting, making the vaccine passport. And then whenever the backlash is so, outrageous and, oh my God, you can't do this, which rightfully so, people should be outraged about that, then they back off. But now that the idea is out there, they can rely on private, quote unquote, private companies to do their bidding. It's basically fascism without a direct collaboration. So, and the thing about this, the whole vaccine passport thing is too, it's not even about companies doing it out of fear. It's also that regular old people will glom onto that idea and just be like, yeah, if you don't support this, then you're bad. Like, this is why we need to make sure that unvaccinated people are ostracized or whatever they want people to. You can't go to a music concert. You can't go on an airplane. You can't do anything. You can't live a normal life unless you get this vaccination. The government doesn't even have to enforce it at this point.
Right.
But they so disproportionately created that attitude from putting the ideas out there. You know what I mean?
Dude, yeah, you're nailing it. That's again because like we're all libertarians, so it's like, well, like a private business. Like, well, it's not when they're being coerced to do so. That's actually what that means. It's fascism. It's a blending of corporations and government.
And even still, we don't know what kind of, like, we have no idea the inner workings of. How do you know they didn't take? I don't know what the CEO of Walmart is. How do we know they didn't give him a phone call and say, hey, listen, or like, let's say a media outlet. I don't care. It doesn't matter what, like some leader of some big corporation. How do you know? Because we know they've done this before. Like the FBI has literally threatened people with death before. How do we know they didn't call up these people and say, if you don't push this stuff, your fucking family is going to be in a dumpster with their throats cut next week. You know what I mean?
Because that's actually happened. Like,
yes, and people
it's on record. It's not even like, this isn't like hearsay. It's like, no, it's happened.
They use mafia tactics all the time.
Yeah.
Literally mafia tactics, which at least the mafia is kind of cool, right? They're
Very
like
cool.
Italian in suits and shit, but the government, like, and people don't want to believe that that's what happens, but it does happen all the time. And I don't know if it's that people just don't want to accept it, not to psychoanalyze. I don't like when people do this, generally speaking, but like, what is it about people that we can't, I say we, people in general, that they cannot accept that, yeah, the government does really bad stuff all the time. They like have a really bad track record. They do, and it's not incompetence, it's evil. It's like, if it was incompetent, if it was incompetent, it'd be over by now.
Right.
All you have to do is correct a mistake. No, they do evil things. So we have no idea what kind of lies they're telling people or what kind of backroom deals they're making. We have no way to know. There's like 3 million federal government employees. What are they all doing? We have no idea.
Well, I was telling the story, I think, a few podcasts ago where, for a fact, when the Libertarian Party was founded, there were federal agents in the room of the foundation of the Libertarian Party. Like that's like for a fact. So it's like they're in everything, like everything. there's plants in all parties. There's plants there. That's what they do. That's you can thank Hoover for that. He was big on that. That was like his whole term of between his whatever weird shit he was doing on the side, and interjecting in everyday lives of the people of this country. He was awful. And
a lot of it came from a place of he was gay when it was really, really like socially unacceptable to be gay. So he would get dirt on people that could possibly get dirt on him first, right? So he'd be like, hey, you know, because he was like cross-dressing and shit. And he was a freak and everything. So he didn't want people to know that. So that's like I don't know if projection is the right word, but
back then, if they saw him in a dress, people's heads would have exploded. What are you talking about? Like, I'm saying, for back then, it's you're right. I'm agreeing with you. Like, it's so like out
crazy.
there of a concept. Yeah. He's like, I'm bringing down everyone. No one's touching me. Like that. You're 100% right. Yeah.
So nobody could say a word against him in public without being completely destroyed or killed. I mean, the guy was the lead, the head of the FBI. He could have anybody killed with no problem. I guarantee you. And I'm sure he did.
Oh, dude. Yeah. Yeah. He also had like some real self-grandized stories of like what happened. He was like a liar. Like he was like a pure piece of shit. Oh, I didn't ask you, Nick. What got you into the LP? Like, what brought you into not the LP, just like the Liberty move, like the party movement. Or
yeah, sure. So I actually have a really cool Genesis story. Okay. So whenever I was a kid, my dad and would just watch Fox News and Hannity and Glenn Beck and those guys. And this was whenever I was in, I don't know, junior high. So I was 14, 15. And I was just kind of being a dumb kid, just kind of taking everything at face value and not really thinking about it a whole lot. I just kind of took the Republican Party line, just became sort of an establishment neocon, as establishment as a 15-year-old can get. But you know what I mean.
If you see a 15-year-old Republican, like, what do you know?
That's exactly that's right. Like, as
shut the fuck up.
But it's just that's what I thought was the good guys were the Republicans, the bad guys were the Democrats, and the typical shit.
Yeah.
But anyway, I just started to develop more like some anti-war views because of Obama, because I didn't like Obama, and Obama was a big warmonger. So whenever like Gaddafi was killed, I remember being like, what the fuck why? What happened there? I know that he didn't like literally have Gaddafi killed or whatever, but he was killed as a result of all the shit that Obama's wars over there did. But yeah, it was so funny because like whenever he pulled out of Iraq and then ISIS was created, and all the Republicans were like, you see, that's why you don't pull out of Iraq. But at the same time, they were saying, why are we in Libya? Why are we in Syria? So I started to notice that cognitive dissonance there. And I was like, wait a minute. Obama's doing one thing and they dislike it, but he does the same thing elsewhere. He does what they're, the opposite of what they're criticizing him for. And they criticize that too. And I started to kind of put some pieces together that politics was sort of a game. And then I just kind of became anti-war. It wasn't really a principle. It was more of a sort of paleocon kind of, why are we sending our guys to die over there kind of deal, which it is principled. I don't want to take away from the paleo conservatives who are good, but it wasn't any libertarian, like non-aggression principle, Rothbardian stuff that I was spitting. But then I kind of just became apolitical and stopped caring so much, and just kind of, I don't remember how this happened, but I just kind of became a milquetoast beltway libertarian. And I thought libertarianism was socially liberal, fiscally conservative, like the main, the same bullshit a lot of people think libertarianism is. But then one day I discovered, Eric July?
Of course.
Yeah. I discovered Backwards on Spotify.
His band, yeah.
Yeah. And I heard the song Self-Ownership. And I was like, this is great. And the last verse, it sounds like he's up on a soapbox just hollering at people. And I was like, wow, so I looked into Backwards, and because I looked into them, I discovered the term anarcho-capitalism. I discovered Murray Rothbard. And then after like Google and YouTube searches on that stuff, and Eric July's other videos, because he's been doing videos for a while, like on his own. After all that, I came across Tom Woods. And then that's it. Like once you discover Tom Woods, if you're already going down that road, Tom Woods just accelerates you to the end there. So then I discovered the Mises Institute. In fact, I have a Mises Institute sticker on this Telecaster and antiwar.com sticker on that. You discover Tom Woods, then you discover Scott Horton. You discover the Mises Institute and everybody that's at the Mises Institute, like Bob Higgs and
Jeff,
Dr. Robert Murphy. Yeah. So after that, it's like, okay, I just kind of was consumed by this. And the first libertarian literature that I ever read, I've been talking about this on Twitter. The first one that I read was Road to Serfdom by F.A. Hayek. Because in one of the songs, Eric, one of the verses, he says, you should read The Road to Serfdom. And, it's part of a rap verse. But so I was like, well, shit, I bought a bunch of books from Barnes & Noble, including Anatomy of the State.
Great.
For a New Liberty. I haven't read Human Action, but I have it. And Road to Serfdom. And Road to Serfdom was the first one I read. And that really didn't. The thing about that one was I was like, from listening to Tom Woods and all them, I kind of already knew everything in that book anyways, but it's just interesting that it literally was Eric July is like responsible for me being where I am right now, which is really cool.
It's possible because you're a racist. So how could you let a black guy influence you? That's so weird. Yeah, dude. Yeah, it's awesome to see like artists like comics or musicians like bringing people into like the movement like that for just through words. Which I don't talk about politics on stage. I don't, because I have one joke where I mention I'm a libertarian, but it's just to set up. I make myself like an asshole, but it has nothing to do with libertarianism. It just kind of sets me. But like because I find it. Like, that's Dave's thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, he could fucking do it. Like, he's good at, I could talk politics, make it fucking hilarious, mixing other shit. I can't. Like, I could do that here, off the cuff, but if I can't go, I could write political, but it have to be for a political, like, venue. Whatever. I can't go to, like, fucking The Stand in New York and be like, all right, you guys ready for fucking high-level political humor? Well, you're not going to get it from me. So I just go to dick jokes and talk about drugs. Like that's my fucking wheelhouse, right? So like that's where I thrive. But like it's good. That's kind of why I do this podcast. Actually, that's my way to get people and to hopefully be like, hey, you should like listen to my podcast and listen to these great guests I have on and talk about liberty and stuff like that. I'm like, that's my way to recruit people because I can't do it on stage. I just can't. I'm not that good.
Yeah, I get it, man. And like there is something. There's definitely something to be said about people just promoting these ideas through their art form. Ayn Rand converted a lot of people to at least, if not full on like libertarianism, then at least having libertarian sympathies from her fictional literature. And the problem with that is a lot of people, once something is in the mainstream, like her books are, then it becomes the ideas. How do I put this? Whenever something that is not first in the mainstream, like not first accepted, that just kind of becomes big. And the reason I would consider it outside of the mainstream, like in spirit, is because the ideas in her books are not mainstream.
Right. So
many people, because when something like that makes it into the big time, then a lot of people get the wrong idea about it. Like about libertarianism, and it's not Ayn Rand's fault. I'm not saying that at all. It's nothing wrong with the books. There's nothing wrong with what she did. It's just once something does break into the mainstream that is not mainstream in spirit, which libertarianism is inherently not, then people think that libertarianism is just like the idea that libertarians are Republicans who smoke weed or whatever it may be, right? Or like Ayn Rand wrote about selfishness, and what she really meant was like self-interest. Instead of not selfishness, because selfishness is a bad thing, but you know what I mean. People get the wrong idea about it because the masses are stupid.
Yeah, well, people fuck it up for everybody. It's how life works. I mean, yeah. Well, I always tell people like who are trying to like venture into our idea. I'm like, hey, read Anatomy of the State. It's easy. 60 pages. Take you fucking an hour. Like if you read a page a minute, whatever. It's 2 hours. It's exposing people to that shit, which again, it's hard to be like, you want to read a book? It's like, no. It's like, all right.
Yeah.
I don't know. The audio book too. Like it's hard to. That's my struggle. Because like
that's why
I can't sum. I'm sorry, that's cut you off. Like I can't sum up what Rothbard said in Anatomy of the State better than he can.
Yeah.
So what am I gonna say? I sound like a fucking idiot.
Yeah, if you're telling somebody to read a 600-page book, like not obviously Anatomy of the Stage short, but telling people to read a book is hard. Like you just said, a lot of people aren't just going to read a book, especially if they don't agree with the ideas you have anyway. If you're like, yeah, read this book, they're going to be like, fuck you. Why would I read a book that you think is good? I don't agree with you,
dude.
But
people,
if it's some,
no, I'm sorry, people.
No, go
not to cut you off, but like people who recommend books that I would like, I'm like, I don't read a fucking book. Like,
yeah, I don't.
It's just the idea of like, I'm
right.
not gonna fuck you. I'll listen to it maybe. Like,
Yeah,
like I have to really, I'm sorry, but go continue your point.
I was just saying that's where the benefit of people like Eric July, who are trying to influence things through cultural stuff, like through his music or through he's getting into doing comic books, something that people just have an interest in. Now, that's not to say that people haven't read books and were converted by the books, but I think that and Ayn Rand wrote books, but they were fictional. They were for entertainment, right? So I think if you have people that are trying to influence others through those kind of outlets, as opposed to just be like, yeah, you should read this Rothbard book, you should read For a New Liberty, or you should go peruse Mises.org. It's a lot more effective than to have somebody who's making videos where they relate things to the culture. It's way more effective to do that than it is to tell them to read a book.
Yeah, that's what I tried to do. I'm like, hey, listen, it's free. It's a free audiobook. Like, there's another comic, an LA comic I'm friendly with, acquaintances with, and he was bitching about something, and it had to do with taxes. And I was like, hey, man, who hates taxes? Fucking we do. And but he's a lefty LA comic. So he was like, well, I don't want to hear if you hate taxes, you don't want to pay them. I'm like, well, I don't, but that's not. But so in my mind, I'm like, well, I can't say that, right? So I'm like, no, like, no worries. I'm like, actually, here's some free shit from Mises.org that exactly what you're talking about is your issue, man. Give that a read. Now, did he? No, I guarantee he didn't. But at least, like, I put it to him. So now he can never be like, well, I didn't know. Hey, man, I offered you 3 different. I remember, like, I linked 2 or 3 different things that were specific to what he was saying. And it was all, I think one of them was also Anatomy of the State, too. It was like, hey, also, fuck the government, right? So, like, I'll throw that in there, too. But I was like, but now, again, now it's on him. If you really give a shit, because because this is how I look at it. You went on a public platform, your social media, which it's not like back in 2004, like, oh, Facebook doesn't mean anything. No, social media is important now. Like, it's like a part of you. Like, what you say on there is a part of you. It just is. Like, so if you're taking the time to go on Facebook and make a fucking giant public, thing, clearly you care about it.
Yeah.
So I'm giving you some solutions to maybe change your outlook on some things, to maybe vote differently or whatever. If you really give a shit, you'll at least peruse the first thing I sent you. But if you don't, then you just want to be heard, and then fuck you. I don't give a shit then.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It is people are. I don't know, man. I feel like people are it's way too easy for people to have that cognitive dissonance. They don't realize that they do. Like, people aren't going to be consistent. People aren't going to. You know what I mean? It's just something you have to. Not you, but you in general. Like you rhetorically.
Yeah.
It's just something you have to understand. Like, libertarians, guys, you're not. The chances of you converting somebody to your ideology, I've got one person, but this person was somebody I knew personally anyways, but I've got one person that I've got on the road to, actually a couple of people. My dad, I got my dad get listening to Tom Woods and Scott Horton and stuff like that. But it's the chances of you like converting somebody to libertarianism, I feel like it's just very slim. And people are going to have that cognitive dissonance without paying it a second thought. They're not ideologically consistent, and you just have to kind of accept that and figure your way around it,
Yeah, I only personally converted a handful of people myself. It's hard. It's so fucking hard. And again, it's all people I kind of know. Like, excuse me, like my parents. My parents are always conservative. Of that. Excuse me, I spoke weed, now I'm coughing. Excuse me, of that ilk. They were always more conservative. But my dad was always like an anti-war guy. He never gave a shit about drugs. My dad was, again, I think my dad was always way more just fiscally conservative. I didn't like taxes, didn't like his shit getting spent, didn't like, the way the government would just go bomb countries with his money, all that shit. My mom, a little more religious conservative, I think. She's a little more Catholic, and she's a little more like, she's more red-pilled. Not in the good way. Like, I mean, red-pilled in the Republican way. like as in like she believes more of the rhetoric. She's like, no, the wars. I'm like, stop. That's what I mean by her. Like she's not, but she's a little better with it now. But my dad, but I actually got them both to sign up for the Libertarian Party.
That's good.
Which is good. But my dad's way more like he's always. That's what I said. My dad's always kind of been a libertarian, but he never had faith in the party either, which is what he told me recently. He's like, that's why I never. He's like, I thought I could maybe get more done with what I was, what I saw. But he's like, you can't. So he's like, fuck it now. I'm 65, 66. He's like, I'll just go. I'll just do it.
I'll tell you what, man, from looking at those LP meetings that we were recently done about the New Hampshire situation and the Karen Ann Harlow's thing, like I can understand why people don't think the party is going to be worth a fuck.
It's a joke.
But the right people are beginning to, I mean, the Mises caucus has kind of taken over like half of the states. It's going in the right direction. And, I am of the opinion that like libertarian, we should be focused on in terms of just the party, focused on being the beacon of truth kind of deal, like being show people the light.
Yeah.
And help influence local politics. Because if you can influence local politics and kind of have a grassroots grow things from beneath and emergent kind of order, that's a lot more feasible for the Libertarian Party. If you look at a state like New Hampshire, they've got literal ANCAPs in their state, in their like city councils and stuff around their areas. I mean, they're a big cluster, cell, whatever the term would be, of legitimately like hardcore libertarians up there, and they're doing good work out there. So I think that if people need to, it's not, people are criticized Dave, and I understand for like running for president, which we don't even know if he is yet. He's about to have another kid and he's already got a baby now. So we don't know what he's going to do, but I think they're kind of missing the point. It's not that he thinks he's going to win the presidency. I don't think anybody thinks that Dave Smith is going to be the president, right? Nobody thinks that. It's about reaching the most people, similarly to the way Ron Paul did, which that was why the LP was created in the first place 50 years ago. I think it's almost, it was made in 71. It has been 50 years. 50. It was for the messaging thing. Like, I don't think anybody who votes libertarian is under at least on a national election. You may be able to get some libertarians elected in local positions. And even still, they might have to run as a Republican, even if it's like some sort of city council or mayor thing. But I think a lot of people miss the point. A lot of people that are pro and anti-libertarian party miss the point when it comes to this. Because I think a lot of people are under the delusion that we can influence big federal elections and stuff. Like, I don't really know about that, but I think that if we focus our energy on showing people how to run local politics, which is what I really want to get to doing, get involved in your city council, get involved. Like this is why, and I'll tell you, it's way harder. I don't know. You can't go and just talk to somebody in DC in Congress. You can go and talk to your mayor in your city. Yeah,
exactly.
Right?
It's more accessible.
You can go and attend city council meetings, right? And if everybody, I say everybody, if a lot more people did those kind of things, and we won't have to worry about what's going on in DC. You can have it good in your city. And I know it sucks that the federal government does suck. We get it. Like I get that. But I think what you have to do is start locally. You have to start small. And I think some people who miss the point, the pro LP people that miss the point, are way too ambitious. The anti LP people who are missing the point are way too like pessimistic and negative. Like, no, anybody can affect politics in some capacity, locally at least.
I think when it really comes down to it, the presidency is useless, and it really is like all about the more local stuff that matters. Like legislative stuff matters way more.
Yeah,
way more. The presidency is fucking pointless.
That's kind of been proven with the whole 2020 thing. Like they're very objectively, some states were better to live in than others, specifically if you're like libertarian or whatever you would call liberty minded or whatever people say. And you can have that. You can have more. That's the point. Like, it's decentralization. It's 10,000 Liechtensteins. You don't get that from having Dave Smith as president. You get that from having people all over the country
Right.
who are influencing their county, or their if they're in Louisiana, their parish, or their local council meeting, or whatever. Like it's the 10,000 Liechtenstein's model. That's what I think is the way to go.
Agreed.
That extreme decentralization. You don't get that from the top down. You get that from the bottom up.
I totally agree, dude. Dude, I think that's a great place to end it, actually. Nick, tell everybody they can find you on anything you want to plug, podcast, all that shit, man.
Well, anything I ever put out is going to be on individualistpodcast.com. That's the name of my show, is Individualist Podcast. And I am on Twitter at Nick_individual.
Boom.
That's all I got, really.
And of course, Tower Power
let me
Hour.
shout out the Tower Gang. So we got me, Clint from Liberty Lockdown. I think it's at Liberty Lock Pod. Jose Galison, it's at Galison Jose. It's Galison. This is his name. At Galison Jose. At Anarcho_Toad. At Fat Comic Dave, and myself again at Nick Individual, and was supposed to be a founding member, but he only was on one episode. I'm just giving him shit. I'm just picking on him here. But Joshua Smith at Joshua at large.
Josh, bitch.
But so yeah, the Tower Gang. We're gonna have Mr. Adam on next Monday. Tomorrow, I don't know when this is going out.
I don't know either.
Okay, well,
I might have been on already, and if that was the case, I had a great time.
Yeah, and I don't know if you know this, Adam, but we're having Dave Smith on. Today's, as we record, is July 27th, and July 28th, that's a Wednesday, we're having Dave Smith on. So
I know, you make me follow Dave, bro. It's fucked up.
Huh?
You make me follow Dave, bro. It's fucked up.
Dude, it's going to be great. Don't worry.
It's fucked up. All right, man. Dude, thank you so much for coming on, of course. Everyone, just again, catch me at Adam Nutter on all social media. Check out my social media for dates, droptent.com/events for tickets. Again, check out Cult of Us to do with Neil Wood, comedy podcast, Slapstick Sports to do with Jesse Pedraza and Garrett Monaco, another fun podcast I do, and Garbage Opinions podcast. I do too many fucking podcasts. Go listen to all my podcasts. I do too many. Don't. I don't give a shit. Thanks for listening to this one, though. So, Nick, it's been a pleasure, dude. Thank you so much. I can't wait to do or already have done Power Hour with you guys.
Thank you, Adam.
All right, man. Peace out, everybody.
Thanks for listening. Find Adam on social media, Twitter and IG at Adam Nutter, or Facebook and TikTok at Adam Nutter Comedy. And for podcasts and merch, check out www.droptent.com. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe so you never miss an episode.